Hello everyone, this is Matt from Matthew Francis Media, joining you from the future in post-production because I am a time traveler. Just wanted to say that the first 30-ish minutes of this week's episode is a little messed up. We are aware of it. Even though it sounds like my fault, it's all Bill's. Just know that past that, everything is perfectly fine, and we hope that you guys enjoy the episode. So with that being said, let's get into it.
Have you ever wanted to listen to two random dudes on the internet talk about their views?
Well, I'm Matt.
And I'm Bill.
And this is the Two Dudes with a View podcast. Hello everyone, welcome back to the Two Dudes with a View podcast. As always, my name is Matt, and I am joined by my lovely friend Bill. Bill, how are you doing today?
Hey, it finally stopped raining.
It did. It was actually fairly warm up here. It was like 55 today. Actually kind of excited.
About here.
Maybe spring's actually coming. We're not in that fake winter cycle. You got, especially in New York, you got winter, and then you got like fake spring 1, and then you got second winter, and then you got fake spring 2, and then you got like third winter, and then you have actual spring. I think we're done with the third winter, and now we're into actual spring.
Yeah, I was so confused on what the hell I was supposed to wear. Like, do I wear a jacket? Do I wear a t-shirt and a jacket and hope for the best?
Well, that's what I was like. Do I have to pack shorts everywhere I go? Because it might be 70 the next day, or the next hour.
Well, here, Easter, it was chilly out, but it wasn't bad. Then the next day, there's 2 inches of snow.
I know. Yeah, it was. I mean, it was like you said, it wasn't horrible. It was raining a little, but the sun was out. It was like 60, and then it just 2 inches of snow the next day. I don't know. Anyways, we got a great podcast for you today, covering some interesting topics, some nice topics. Sounds like Bill's cracking a beer over there.
Maybe.
We're going to start off with something new, somewhat new to us, but we are kind of covering, and that's the USFL. We'll get more into that later, but they got some, for the first experience that I've kind of dealt with it, this is a very weird story that we're going to bring you, and, I'm curious to see where it goes. And then we're going to go to something that's fresh, actually yesterday afternoon, so we're recording this on Wednesday. Will come out on Monday, but yesterday afternoon, the airlines, actually a federal judge did it, and the airlines followed suit. We'll talk about that. And we're going to go into the now 2-week-long case against Johnny Depp that Amber Heard is pressing, the civil case. And then we're going to talk about some mix-ups in the NATO land that's possibly coming down the pipe, which I'm concerned but also curious to see where it goes. So we got some great topics for you. Bill, I'm going to turn it over to you because you know a little bit more about this than I do, and I'm still learning about this. But USFL, let's just talk about this. Can you just tell people what it is first, because I don't think many people have heard about this as of right now. They will soon, but I think it's a fresh topic. Well, that is true.
So the USFL is the United States Football League. It's basically a spring league for football, so they could try to keep football going all year round.
It's the wannabe NFL offseason, essentially.
So if you look at it at face value, it's essentially if you took high school football and college football and let them have a baby, and then that baby grew up to be a football player, that's essentially what that is. It's a bunch of people that some are college educated people, some are college football players. But at the end of the day, it's ultimately, it's horrible trash football. They're not, the skill level is really not there. Some do. I watched a game. I was telling Matt just the other day. I watched a game for about 30 minutes to an hour, somewhere in there. I'm not sure. And I'll be damned if I didn't watch the quarterback fumble the ball 3 times And out of the 3 times, 2 of them were ran back for a touchdown. I watched receivers drop simple passes that even high school kids make. I'm not exactly sure how these guys scout. I understand their training would be in the winter, so they got to do it indoors, I imagine. But there's 2 things that came out. Well, one that we're really going to cover. The other one I'm just kind of going over now is the fact that the USFL, unless they get their feet on the ground, it's a, oh boy, especially next year with the XFL relaunching, not again, but again. But no, not again, but again, but again.
Yeah. I can't even count how many agains.
Yeah. So I've seen a lot of crazy shit happen in sports. I've heard a lot of stupid things that go down in teams and people getting fired for some pretty dumb reasons. I think this one takes the cake, though.
Oh, yeah. This is definitely by far the best you're getting fired story.
Yeah, so I thought this was fake.
Although, I will say first, if I'm going to get terminated, this is a pretty damn good way to do it.
Right. But, see, and when this came out, I'm like, yeah, right. This is a load of BS. There's no way this is real. So I did my journalistic duty, and I looked into it, and I seen it on USA Today. Bleacher Report had it. So, I mean, if it's fake, they're doing a really good job at faking it. But there is a player that played for the Pittsburgh Maulers named Devon Smith. And I hope I didn't just kill his name, but it says how it looks like it should be spelled or said. Devon, something
I think it's Devon.
He got fired. I'm going to say this again. He got fired for refusing to eat a chicken salad and opting to eat pizza instead.
You know,
let that sink in for a second.
What if he just ate like chicken bacon ranch pizza? It's got chicken on it.
So there's a video of it, and I just watched the video. Well, I watched part of the video, and I'm not going to sit and watch the whole thing. But he's sitting in front of his coach or some part of management, I guess, and he says that he doesn't want the chicken salad. He doesn't want to eat chicken salad. And the coach said, or whoever this is said, well, that's going to be a problem. And I don't know how that could be a problem.
Unless it's in, I mean, as far as I'm aware, and I'm used to like the NFL and whatnot, unless it's in their contract. I mean, they don't have to. They give them a recommended nutrition, plan and schedule and whatnot. Well, I don't think it's required. And if you don't, you just like get fired.
You can't say, oh, hey, we're playing football, so you can't eat a pizza. You got to eat, chicken salad, which is not really that healthy for you anyway. So
I love salads, and I mean, chicken salads are up there, but come on. Even I can't turn down pizza if it's sitting right in front of me.
Right, but I'm reading this like chicken salad, like ground up chicken in mayonnaise.
Oh, that's a possibility.
So, I mean, is it actually a chicken salad, or is it like a chicken salad sandwich where it's the ground up?
I don't know. I mean, either way, if it's the chicken salad like sandwich, the ground up chicken, etc. I mean, with the amount of everyone makes it different, but the amount of extra products you put into that, I would say that's not even like. Pizza, depending on what it is, it's like 3 ingredients, right? It's some dough, you got some pizza sauce, and maybe some cheese. Like pepperoni or something.
See, the thing, like, neither one of them are healthy for you.
No, not really.
Chicken salad, no matter how you make it, unless you're, like, a strange, weird person, you put mayonnaise in it.
Exactly.
What is mayonnaise? It's fat.
I mean, and then pizza, you just got all that grease and everything. That's just,
Oh, they could pretty it up by putting lettuce and salads on top of it and calling it like a vegetarian pizza. But
put some spinach on top. You're all good.
Yeah, that makes it better.
I don't know. I'm like I said. I mean, it's definitely one of the best firing stories that I've heard in quite some time, and I've heard some good ones.
Well, yeah. There's no way if like I said, I've looked into it.
I would love to see a lawsuit come out of this.
Me too, because that would be great for us.
That would just be hilarious to listen to and go through. Oh my God. Can you imagine like the first page of that lawsuit? Yeah, I'm filing this, $10 million lawsuit because I wanted to eat what I wanted to eat and I couldn't make my own decision.
Yeah, so there's 2 things that this could be. This is legit, and if it is, holy hell, the world's going to be laughing.
Yeah. It's not even legit. Listen, it's not even confirm that it's legit, and I'm already laughing. So
Right, but and if it's not legit, if it's not a legit story,
it's a great hoax.
and it's just kind of a way to get some crazy ass thing out there, to get like attention to the USFL.
I mean, they did a good job.
They could probably just make a commercial.
Like, this reminds me.
USFL.
This reminds me. It's kind of an off track, but I'm gonna mention it really quick. And I talked to you, Bill, about this like weeks ago. You might remember it. This reminds me, if this is a hoax, it reminds me of something that happened close to me with. It was an April Fool's prank, and luckily no one got charged with any crimes or whatever. But a citizen in this city, and I won't mention names, sent out and printed a letter and sent it out to everyone in the city, as acting as if they were the mayor, stating that there was a new law that got passed requiring all pets in public to wear pants. Cats, dogs, any pet, ferrets, requiring to wear pants. Now, that was a complete hoax, right? But everyone believed it at first because it was one of those stupid, ridiculous things that like would happen and just randomly show up. This reminds me of that because it's one of those stupid, ridiculous things that would just randomly show up, yet possibly also be true.
And to be fair, I wouldn't put it past the mayor of New York to make some kind of decision like that.
Oh, no. I mean, we all know New York's just a complete shit show as well. I guess the USFL and New York have quite a lot in common at this point.
Yeah, they're both, people are getting fired for some crazy things.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Really? Chicken salad versus pizza? Come on.
I don't even think it's an argument. I just like, all right, give me the pizza.
Yeah, I know. I mean, depending on what kind of pizza, though. It's got pineapple on it. Oh, I have to question some things. Even spinach. We'll have more on the USFL in future episodes when things kind of get going a little bit more. Like Bill said, it's like it reminds me of baseball because you have obviously Major League Baseball. So you got like the Yankees and all them. And then you got all these minor league teams that are like the no-name teams that want to be, major league teams. Like the city close to me has one. They're like the Salt Potatoes or something. Is there? I don't even know. Regardless, it reminds me of that. Like all these random college kids, anywhere from a college kid to like someone who didn't get drafted, just wants to go out and play football during the spring to keep it year-round. This reminds me of that. And I think we're going to be hearing a lot more stupid stuff coming from them.
Yeah, this is like the...
Listen, this is both of ours like first run-in with news from them, and it's already pretty dumb.
Yeah, I didn't even know, like, up till a couple days ago, it was like Sunday or something is when I watched the game. I didn't even know the damn USFL existed.
I didn't either until you brought it up to me.
Yeah, I thought it was like a Canadian league, but I seen USFL. And like, you know how if you're watching it, I think it was on CBS or something. I thought they always do the...
I thought it was the
thing.
Yeah.
Well, like it was legit. Like they had the lines on the fields.
Hilarious.
Everything was like NFL except for there was absolutely nobody in the stands. It looked like they were playing in high school, like in a high school field.
They probably were. You know what they were probably doing? They were probably at the Washington Commanders field, and then the Commanders weren't, turning in that information on the tax entry.
Yeah, we had to get that in there
somewhere. I had to slide it in.
We have nothing for you on them. They finally went a week without causing no kind of shit.
Well, the week's not over yet.
That's true, but our week is because we won't record it.
Our week is, but they still got like 3 days to find something to put their hand in the cookie jar for.
Yeah, well, I don't know. If something major happens, you could always record it and edit it into the podcast.
We can.
Somewhere, so.
We'd probably also post it on our Discord somewhere too.
Absolutely, which you can find in the link to in this video.
Minor plug. No, I mean, I admire people's want to play football year round, and quite frankly, I love it. It's the sport I watch the most. I love football. I obviously do a lot with the Bills. You're a Miami fan, so it's great to see football year round because I love watching it. But
here's my problem with spring leagues. And it's not that, like, this is a dig on anybody that does spring leagues, like the XFL and now this USFL. mumbo jumbo is.
I just want to know how many more football franchises are going to come out.
Well, there's too much going on in the spring, sports related.
Agreed.
Right? Like, you got baseball, you got NASCAR, you got all these different sports like that, like soccer's and all these things that are picking up in spring.
And
it's nice to have a break. It makes football seem important when you're only getting it for 7, a couple months out of the year, whatever it is.
You're only getting, really, honestly, the only fall sport that people watch is football.
Like basketball. Basketball doesn't even have an off season. It just seems like it's the NBA champions. It's tip off next week.
I know that. I get that with it, and I don't know how it is around the country, around the world, but like in school sports, like I'm talking high school sports specifically here. Now, I've been out of high school for 4 years ish, a little over 4 years. I know you're old, Bill. It's been like 40 for you, but so, and I never agreed with it, and we can get into this in a future topic. I don't want to waste too much time because we got other things to get to, but there's 2 seasons, right? Everyone's football season's in the fall just because that's when it is. But for things like, I call them the no-name sports because not a lot of kids play them, but they are popular still. Like, I'm talking tennis, golf, even soccer, like for both male and female. There's a fall league and there's a spring league. Now, if your school partakes in the fall league, which specifically soccer and golf in my area, in my school district that I graduated from, we always did the fall league. Now, you can't come back and participate in the spring league, but you get your same league in the fall. And then it's the same thing in the spring. You can't, if you're participating in the spring, you can't participate in the fall. And because of that, well, obviously there's a lack in teams that you can actually play because you're split between the 2 seasons. But regardless, for your specific school district, it makes it seem like, golf, even though only 10, 15 kids play compared to a soccer team where you might have 30, it makes that season, even though it might be 2 months, 3 months long compared to a soccer season, which might be 4 or 5 months, it makes it seem like, okay, we're in the fall. It's the only time we can play it all year. It's not like baseball where we got indoor batting cages, hit balls all year round, and then you get the actual season in the spring. It's like, okay, we got 3 months. Let's make the best of it. Let's have a great time. Let's play golf or tennis or whatever. And then you get things like football now. It's like football. You always want to put a nice warm jacket on, eat a hot dog or a hamburger from the stadium and enjoy a little snowfall in New York while you're watching football in the middle of September because that's the way it goes. Now it's
I can't.
Now it's like, I don't even know if I want to watch. Like I said earlier, I love football, but I don't even know if I want to watch football in the middle of summer.
Yeah,
I feel like it'd be too hot, honestly. You're just sitting in an open stadium.
After what I've seen, I'm not watching USFL again.
After this story, I'm not watching USFL again.
I can't. How am I supposed to take them seriously?
I know. I guess it's the XFL only now. They'll probably dig themselves into a pit at some point. But if any of these
got owned by The Rock, so
I will say though, compared to the things we've covered about the NFL the last couple weeks, this is like nothing. They're not hiding millions of dollars or anything like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. It's still fresh.
It just started. I heard the name before though, but they said that this was like the inaugural season. So I don't know what happened that all of a sudden
they might have rebranded or something.
Yeah, maybe.
You never know with them. Anyways, we're gonna move on here to a topic that's been very controversial. Now, I could understand how getting fired for eating pizza instead of chicken salad is controversial. I can understand that. But this, on the other hand, has been very controversial. This is a new story coming out yesterday from Florida. So the past, 2 years, 3 years? I don't even know how long it's been, Bill. 2 years? 2.5?
Yes,
3?
early 2020, early 20s. So.
Oh, boy. 20, so pretty much all of 20, all of 21. So, yeah, I mean, we're going on 2.5 years here.
Yeah.
there has been mask mandates across essentially the world. And as of yesterday, a federal judge in Florida, now I'm going to clarify this, it was a Trump-appointed judge under his presidency. Now, I don't know if that means anything or not at this point. We'll see. But a federal judge in Florida ruled that the CDC's and in return the federal government's mask policy for public transportation, i.e., specifically planes, but also including buses and trains and stuff like that, was exceeding the legal authority under the Public Health Services Act. I don't know what year that came out. I saw it, but I forgot. So this judge, female judge, ruled that the CDC essentially was exceeding its legal authority to protect public health or whatever under this Public Health Services Act. Now, you can imagine that coming from a Florida federally appointed judge by Trump, that this caused some controversy, for sure. And specifically on the airlines front. Now, a majority of the airlines like United, Delta, American Airlines, Southwest, JetBlue, all the major ones, had mask mandates since pretty much day one of COVID. Well, after yesterday, literally minutes after, almost like they were kind of waiting for it, United Airlines was the first airline to drop the mask mandate. And I saw a video of this, multiple videos actually, of moments after the ruling was issued, pilots, waiting to taxi out, reading on, the intercom in the cabin, this statement from United saying, masks are no longer required. If you are on this plane right now, if you wish to take them off, you can. Completely up to you. Now, they also posted this on their social media platforms. Specifically, I saw it on Twitter, and I had a field day just reading some of the comments on there. It left literally thousands, if not millions of people who had United, plane tickets or whatever, divided. I mean, we're talking 50% saying, yeah, great, I don't want to wear a mask anymore, and 50% saying, give me a refund, I'm never flying United again or an airplane ever again.
What I like here is, you pointed out the whole Trump appointed thing. I don't believe that has anything to do with it because she cites legal precedent, right? And law as it's written is open for interpretation.
Exactly.
It's written so vaguely, but she says
that's why we have the Supreme Court. That's why the Supreme Court's gone back and forth.
That they exceeded its legal authority under the Public Health Services Act, which means that this judge looked at that act and said, okay, all the stuff that's in here, you're doing stuff that you're not supposed to according to this, so I'm overturning it. Now, is she right? I don't know. Is she wrong? Maybe.
Well, I don't know.
Who knows?
I guess we'll find out soon because as of what time? As of about 2 hours ago now, the Justice Department officially decided. Now, they weren't originally going to. They said they were making a decision, but as of about 2 hours ago, they officially said they're going to appeal the ruling in Florida. They're going to, do a whole appeal process and try to get it essentially overturned and bring the mask mandate back. Honestly, at this point, do I see it happening? No, I really don't.
Even if it does, it's going to cause more problems because now people are going to be like, hey, I don't have to wear this stupid diaper on my face no more. Now you're telling me all of a sudden I do?
Yeah, so I want to get back here. So I said United was the first to drop it within minutes of the actual ruling coming out. And they got a lot of crap. Like I said, thousands of people saying they want refunds, they're not going to fly United again, etc., 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 etc. But within the next hour or so, I'm going to read off all the airlines, the major airlines. Now, I'm not including every airlines because we'd be here for literally hours while I read them. But Delta, American Airlines, Southwest, JetBlue, Alaska Airlines, Frontier Airlines, and Spirit Airlines. That's 7 others. If you include United, that's 8 major. I would say the 8, at least the 5, if not all 8, are major airlines in the United States. I'll drop the mandate within a couple hours. Now, they did say that if you want to wear them, you can. Go right ahead. Completely up to you. We're not going to stop you if you want to wear one. We're not going to stop you if you don't want to wear one. Which I agree with. I mean, they're leaving it up to the person. If you don't want, Bill, if you don't want to wear a mask, go right. More power to you.
Yeah, you know what's better for you than anybody else.
Exactly. But United got so trashed on because they dropped it, and then everyone else did, and no one said a thing.
Well, like I said to you earlier, before we started recording this podcast, is, if they want to start mandating things, we know there's science out there that points to the fact that if you're not wearing a mask, you could be exposed to COVID. So if you decide not to wear a mask and get COVID, that's on you. But what about, couldn't they then say you're required to wear a condom every time you have sex, even though it's your personal life and your personal decision? Because there is science out there that says, and data that says, you could catch a sexually transmitted disease, which could end your life.
Yeah.
Could they not then, use this as a precedent to say, well, we can make them wear a mask. What else can we make them wear?
Honestly, at this point, I don't even know what.
Hey, I'm married, so like.
Yeah, I mean, you get that going for you.
Yeah, they can make all the condom rules they want.
I don't know. It just seems like it. Like I said, it's been 2.5 years now. You would think that at this point we would be over the hump. COVID infection rates have been way down. Nowhere near what we saw 2 years ago. Nowhere near. I mean, if you look at a chart.
Last summer.
Yeah, even a year ago. So you would think that, at the end of last year, beginning of this year, within the last few months, mask mandates have gone out. Social distancing's been gone for as long as I can remember at this point because no one abide by it to begin with. Especially at like grocery stores. I'm not waiting 6 feet away from someone else. What everyone else said. You're right on top of one another. So all this stuff's gone out the window. So has that really helped, or I don't know.
Well, I think the problem with this is why this is such a big deal. Nowadays, 10 years ago, nobody gave a shit about anything a politician said. But because of Trump and, like I said last week, I'm a realist. Trump was a big mouth, but he was a big mouth for good reasons and sometimes bad. But he ended up creating this us versus them, no matter who you are as a us, whether you're a Democrat or Republican. So everybody now knows that Republicans are like anti-masks and anti-this, whatever has to do with the coronavirus mandates. Everybody's against that that's Republican. The Democrats are all for it. So the fact that this came out as a Trump-appointed judge, it came out in a Republican state, it doesn't look good for Republicans. But these airlines, if you look back to whenever, what was it, a year and a half ago, something like that, whenever the travel bans were starting to lift a little bit, airlines themselves decided to stay closed because of COVID, which means, in my eyes, that's saying, hey, we're leaning more democratic on this, and we're not gonna open up, even though you're saying we can, because at this point Trump was still in office. Now they're embracing it and going for it. So is it, are they flip-flopping on their belief? I don't think so. I think they're running a business, and they are alienating part of the business by saying you got to get on this airplane, which is a climate control. You're tested before you get on the plane.
Yep.
You're going up to 30,000 feet. And if you had no symptoms, if the little head scanner jigger says that your temperature is good and everything, and you're allowed on this plane, you should be allowed to get on that plane without a mask.
Yeah. Well, here's my thought, and I've been thinking about this all pretty much since yesterday when this came out. So when United and even some of these others, because I did read some of the comments of others on their social media posts, whatever, not as bad as United, because obviously the first person to do it's going to be the scapegoat for everything. Regardless, a lot of these people said, I will never fly again. or I refuse to fly and I want a refund. And I'm going to drive everywhere. Now, we talked about this 2 weeks ago now, about the oil crisis that's going on, and with gas prices rising. If people are now refusing to fly and drive everywhere, right? That's just going to, increase the amount of gas we need and oil. We already talked about the fact that we're only releasing 1 million barrels of oil a day.
We've already chewed through a good portion of that, by the way, too.
Yeah, that's nowhere near what we need to, a barrel gets us, what would I say, like 20 gallons? 1 barrel of oil gets us like 20 gallons of a regular car gas.
It's enough for 2 people to fill up their tank.
Not even. It's like 1.5.
What was it? The math we figured 2 weeks ago or whatever. It was like
you get 1 million barrels at 20 gallons.
Yeah, so 500,000 people get gas out of this.
Yeah.
Essentially, mathematically.
Yeah. So if you look at it, not even 500,000, 50,000. Yeah, 50,000. Not even 500,000. At least I think I'm doing math right. I don't know. Someone can correct us if they want.
Yeah, you're asking the wrong guy when it comes to math.
Yeah,
I tell you,
I don't do math.
If I have 30 beers and I drink 6, I have 24 beers for tomorrow.
There you go. Yeah, so that just increases the amount of oil we need. We're already low on production, which in return means more demand, less supply, higher prices.
Well, to go to that, this is so ironic we're even talking about this, because I heard on the way to work today, I heard on the radio I usually keep my radio turned down because you hear the same songs 25 times a day.
Pretty much, yeah.
So I keep it turned down to like 10 or 11, just enough that it's like background noise. But I heard them talking about gas, so I decided to turn it up. And they said now that we're entering the like the travel time where people are traveling and the weather's getting warmer and there's going to be cookouts and family get-togethers and people are going to be on the road and moving, these barrels of gas, it's not going to matter because the gas price, like in 2 days, my gas price here went up to 2 cents. So 1 penny a day, which, I mean, it went back up to where it was before they released the barrels of oil. So it only went down 2 cents. So if this oil is still in production and still getting pushed out, this million barrels, the effects are already wearing off already, and it ain't even been 2 weeks yet.
Yeah, well, and this release of 1 million barrels of oil, and I don't want to jump too far into this because we're going to get spearheaded and go for 3 hours here. But this release of 1 million barrels a day is supposed to end the 30th. Now, for us, right now, present, that's in 10 days. When you hear this, it's going to be 5 days. So what happens come May 1st when we're no longer releasing that 1 million barrels a day? Seems like there's just more issues.
Well,
we're
going to be back to where we were before they did it, where it's going up 10 cents every 2 days.
Like, to be fair,
we're screwed.
To be fair, I mean, at this point, I can now have, my window seat at the emergency exit on the plane because no one else is going to be on there, so I'm just going to be able to pick whatever seat I want. Hell, I might be even fly the plane, be my own waiter.
What are these people stupid? Like, I'm looking at our format right now, and I just read the spot where it says people saying they won't fly and want refund. So, like, you touched on it. You said that they're just going to drive everywhere.
Yeah.
Do they know that to go from the East Coast to the West Coast is like a 3-day car ride? If you don't stop at a hotel, but it's all the gas, it's 100 times cheaper to buy a damn airplane ticket for $50 and fly your ass there.
Yeah, I can go right now, round trip from me in New York, central New York, upstate New York, to Florida and back for less than $150. Round trip, nonstop.
Not if you drive.
If I have to drive, that's 2 days. I'm spending the night in a hotel somewhere, which is going to be probably $100 minimum. Not to mention the $300 in gas I'm going to spend. And I either have to take my car, put wear and tear on that, or rent a car.
Yeah, it doesn't seem right. Like sometimes I think people don't think, they just
No, they don't.
impulsive reactions.
They don't.
They react because of something.
And don't get me wrong. I mean, if people want to wear a mask, by all means, do it. I'm not going to stop you. Bill's not going to stop you. No one's going to stop you. Do it.
Oh no, I have this really strong belief in me that if you want to do something, and if you feel strongly enough about it, then you do it. You know, like if you don't agree with something and you want to go stand on the corner with a sign and protest about it, hey, more power to you.
You're right.
You have that right.
Yep.
Yeah, you have the right to do so. But these people that are acting stupid over, what if they're
gonna bankrupt their family?
What if an Obama appointed federal judge made the same decision
in like Delaware?
Yeah, what would have happened then?
I don't know.
Because you know that that's a thing.
Oh, yeah.
If a Democratic appointed judge said, you kind of screwed the pooch on this one a little bit.
No, they wouldn't have said that. They would have just wiped it under the rug, and no one would have heard about it.
That's what I like about the federal judges, though. It doesn't matter who they're appointed by.
They tend to do a pretty damn good job.
Because they kind of have to,
exactly.
Right? Like their boss is the federal government.
As I say, they're the highest judge, with the exception of the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
The only, if a federal judge sends something, there's only two more courts you can go to: the Federal Appeals Court or the Supreme Court. I mean, it's not like a local town judge. It's like, hey, you got a speeding ticket.
So
$150.
The moral of the story is, if the Justice Department is going to appeal this is probably just a procedural appeal.
Oh, 100%.
It has no weight to it. They're just appealing it because
so yesterday
it puts an injunction into it, right?
Yesterday, this came out not too long before the White House press secretary did her briefing for the day. She was kind of questioned on it a little at the time. Now, it was only a couple hours, so I give them credit that there wasn't a lot of time to discuss it. But at the time, she said, she didn't come out right and say it, but you can kind of imply it, that the Biden administration was not going to appeal this. Which essentially, to me, now obviously the Justice Department today, as of a couple hours ago, said they are going to appeal it. But, and I honestly don't know why the Justice Department's doing it and not the CDC, because that's really the one that got shot down with this whole thing. Regardless, that's a story for a different day. But it kind of gave that vibe yesterday that it wasn't worth appealing, and they knew they had kind of just done away with whatever, they knew they kind of screwed up. I don't know. We'll see where it goes. Like Bill said, I think this is just procedural, and they're doing it to please some people on their side and calling it good. Who knows?
Yeah, there's no way this is going to go anywhere.
Oh no, I don't see it. Speaking of suing and appealing and whatnot, there has been a pretty high-profile civil case going on the last week and into this week, and we didn't cover it last week. I thought about it, but I specifically wanted to wait to give it a little bit of a topic and ground to see where it goes. But probably one of the best known actors in the United States and honestly around the world, because he's done numerous international things. Johnny Depp got sued, or I should say is suing former ex-wife, well, I shouldn't say former ex-wife, Amber Heard. It's a defamation lawsuit, meaning it's a civil, it's not criminal, it's civil, for $50 million. She in return is countersuing for $100 million. Now, defamation is essentially the put down of someone, ruining their reputation, stuff like that. So he's claiming that, she portrayed him as a abusive partner, as, a domestic violence abuser, so on and so forth, abused her physically, mentally, emotionally, so on and so forth. And because she claimed that, he's stating that ruined his reputation. It ruined his acting career and has essentially cost him part of his livelihood. Now, she's obviously countersuing for twice as much because that's apparently what we do nowadays. So she's suing him for $100 million, saying that this whole lawsuit is ruining her reputation. So it's essentially a he said, she said. And quite frankly, I mean, I hope he wins. You know, Johnny Depp, known for many, many popular movies. I mean, I've seen many, specifically one that I can really think of, Pirates of the Caribbean. Like, great movie. He testified yesterday, today, and might even testify a little bit more tomorrow in this trial. He's testified that he's never hit her, meaning Amber Heard, never hit any woman, was never an abuser, with the exception of substance abuse, which he sought and got help for and is now clean. I'll get more into that here in a minute. So he said that I've never done any of this, and many of his lifelong friends, not lifelong friends, co-workers that he's had on, you know, I saw some testimony from a audio person, an audio engineer, that has been with him since I think 1998 or 99. I think it was 99. On every movie he's done since then. And all of them have said, yeah, I have never witnessed, I have never heard, I've never seen him be a domestic abuser. So, at least from, you know, and there's also been people, including there are a couple therapists now, Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. Obviously, 9 out of 10 times, if you're going through a divorce, they're going to require some sort of couples therapy to try to fix something or deal with issues. And the couple therapists that they had, Johnny Depp's nurse that he had that was helping him with his addiction treatment, and numerous others that have been involved with both parties, have said, yeah, Depp's pretty much in the right here, and she has constantly and on several occasions tried to instigate conflict between the two.
So, okay, I'm looking this up while you were talking, just to see what I can get that's public information. So there's a bunch of pictures here of him, you know, with black eyes and all bruised up, and there's one very graphic picture that has the tip of his, it looks like his right middle finger.
I did see that picture, yes.
Yeah, like missing a big chunk of it. Like there's a photo of him laying on a hospital gurney with a white towel over him, bleeding from the finger.
Yep.
And then there's a picture of her with like a black eye. So, like, obviously this is a court thing that they have to deal with. But here's my view on it: is if this all correlated together, like, you know, did she beat him up and then somehow get to where he was able to chop off his finger, or did she get his finger and then he, you know, ended up saying, hey, you know, this is enough, you're trying to kill me, and then punched her in the face? If that's the case, I don't know any judge in the world that would say, all right, she's a female, you shouldn't have hit her, but I understand why you did.
It's not even a judge, it's a jury. There's 12 people sitting in that courtroom.
Big chunk of his finger missing.
Yeah. You know, and like I said, I'm not there, Bill's not there. Actually, no one's really there with these allegations, but it seems like, you know, Depp testified all day yesterday, all day today, and he might even be coming back to testify more tomorrow. That's 3 days.
He's a pretty prolific actor, man. Like,
yeah,
these allegations weren't good for him.
No,
because
not at all.
If it comes out, like, you know, when it came out, oh, hey, Johnny Depp beat up his ex-girlfriend or ex-wife or whatever she was. What company, what studio company is going to be like, hey, let's get Johnny Depp? This ought to be good. Movies
like that he was already cast in, uncasted him and filled his spot. You know, There was a movie that I think both of them were doing. I forget the name of the movie, but both of them were in. They cut Johnny Depp, brought in someone else, and left Amber Heard. Just took her side automatically. And I don't say this to be political or anything like that, but 9 out of 10 times when you hear of a domestic violence situation, you always think that the male is in the wrong and the female is always correct.
And most of the time that is the case because a man
exactly.
can overpower a girl very easily.
Exactly. But there's also times, specifically in this case, where, Depp admitted to substance abuse, got help for it, was wrapped up in substance abuse for quite some time. Those things was under high stress by all the movies he's done and whatnot. It's understandable. Those things can alter a person, even the strongest of people, right? So it's believable here that because of those things, he was vulnerable. Now,
let me ask you a question. You said it. How much is he suing her for defamation?
$50 million.
$50 million.
And she's countersuing him for $100 million.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna double it just in case there's any liability. But just think of $50 million. Now, to me and you, that's a shitload of money.
I'm never working a day in my life.
But
and
for somebody like him, that since this happened, he could have probably made triple that amount.
At least one movie, he could have made that.
So this is peanuts for him. I think he's just doing it to prove a point. Like, hey, this is going to come out that you were in the wrong. And by you going out on all these publications and sending these fake, not even fake photos, because they were real photos of her, but she left out the him photos.
Oh yeah.
To make her look good, it ruined his career. If this comes out, this is much like that thing, that taboo topic we're not going to talk about. But it's much like that, right? Like, even if they find out, the verdict comes back that he wins and she did everything she could to screw him over and he gets the $100 million or $50 million, whatever it is, that still ain't going to make it right, because that taste is still in everybody's mouth. That knowledge is still in your head, that you heard this, this, you're going to see, starring Johnny Depp, the woman beater, but he's not.
Yeah.
But you're still going to think that.
Well, and I think this, maybe not for him, but I think the reason he's doing it, he's had a very successful career in his life. I don't know what his net worth is. I'd probably look it up, but he's had a very successful career, been in numerous high money movies and shows. I think he's more doing this to, not for himself, but for everyone else. Every other male who's been a true victim of domestic violence on their part and seen the same things, or potentially seen the same things that have been brought out and alleged here. I think he's doing it for everyone else. Like you said, 50 million is pocket change for him. He really doesn't matter there. If he really wanted to, and he won this, he could make a case for $300 million, saying, it's been 2 years. I could have made that easily. I could have made that overnight.
So two things, according to Forbes, and this is as of 2021, because 2022 finances hasn't come out for celebrities yet, but per Forbes, Johnny Depp is worth $210 million.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is a fourth of that.
So the fact that, like, again, like you said, like he's such a good guy, though. Like, he dresses up as Jack Sparrow, goes to children's hospitals, like kids that are dying of cancer and have terminal illnesses. He goes there, and there's on YouTube, you can look it up. There's videos of him going and seeing these little kids who know that they're in some serious situation. Yeah. Seeing them light up because they're heroes there.
Yeah.
Let's just first say that that's like a 14 or 15-year-old kid going through that. And they're smart enough to know, this is what the news is, and hey, this is my hero, and he's
here.
Accused of this. Yeah. No, well, he's being accused of this. That's terrible, because these kids.
That would be like someone trying to sue Spider-Man or whatever, and for the same thing, and then seeing, Spider-Man is getting accused of this. He's not my hero anymore, right?
Seems to me, if you look at it, seems like all the heroes of the movies are now the bad guys in real life.
Oh, well, maybe that's how they portray things. I don't know.
got WS guy. You got
Yeah.
Johnny Depp. And what's that dude's name that shot the people on the movie set? Like
Alec Baldwin.
Yeah, he's in some legal trouble. Like all the movie good guys are real life bad guys now.
Yeah. Well, like I said earlier, the amount of people granted, it's mostly like his lifelong friends and coworkers and whatnot, but there have been some biased parties. Like I said, the couple therapists, the nurse that knew both of them really treated, Depp for his, I think it was opiates that he was on, whatever drug addiction he was on. Have said, listen, even at his worst, this guy hasn't hurt a fly, let alone punched or hit a woman. And quite frankly, like you said, some of the pictures I've seen, unless this guy's cutting off his own fingertip or beating himself in the face, I don't see how he can be fully responsible here.
For $50 million, I don't think he's cutting off anything.
No, especially for someone like that, that's pocket change.
Yeah, it's like I watched a guy on this, and this is what I realized. Like I already knew that lawyers were ruthless.
Oh yeah.
But so a guy that's known Johnny Depp for years, staying in one of his places, Johnny Depp loaned him $100,000 years and years ago. This guy's a painter. That's what he does. That's how he makes money. The lawyer representing whatever her face is, Amanda, or Amber, or whatever her name is,
Amber,
said to him, like, are you still mad about this? And he's like, no, this was a couple years ago. I'm not mad about it anymore. I just wish it was over. And then she brought up the $100,000 and the free housing that he's getting. And she's like, are you indebted to him? And this is why you're testifying this way? He's like, no, I'm just trying to do the right thing here. And then it got brought up about, how does he make his income? And he said, well, he's a painter, but he hasn't painted since all this went down because it was such a mental thing to him to watch the two people that he cared about get into this situation. And he hasn't painted since. And then she's like, so that means you're living in a house that Mr. Depp gave you for free of charge and not trying to repay the $100,000. And he looked right at her and said, I do what I can to make ends meet. And I was told that I didn't have to worry about paying back the money. So I don't see how that has any relevance to the case that's going on.
Yeah.
And like you could hear the air go out of that building.
Yep.
The fact that this dude just told this lady, like, why are you trying to paint me into a corner to make Johnny look bad because he helped me out? This isn't even about Johnny helping me out. This is about these two people that got into this big fight. And now one's suing the other and the other's counter-suing the other. Can we get to that topic? Essentially, is what he was getting at.
That's what lawyers do. Like you said, they're ruthless. So they'll find any... Trust me, I know. My uncle's... God bless him. He's a lawyer. Or he was. His heart... Essentially, the doctor said, your blood pressure is too high from doing this, that you need to stop. Which pretty much describes every lawyer in the world, specifically ones trying to win major lawsuits like this. And I'm sure this is the biggest case that any of those lawyers have ever touched, because that's usually how it happens. I mean, if you look at Kyle Rittenhouse or any of those, they've had some pretty major cases before, but the publicized ones are the ones that get them fame. Regardless, lawyers are ruthless. They'll do anything to get their client to win, even if they know their client's completely in the wrong.
Oh, I could tell you now, I've been in front of judges many times in my life. And as a businessman, I can tell you that you do not want to go in front of a judge as a businessman.
No.
And you don't want to go in front of a judge as a businessman with a smart aleck attorney.
That's how to dig your own grave.
Yeah, they don't seem to like that because it always turns into, are you trying to mock the court kind of situation.
Yeah,
no, we're just trying to prove a point in a non-conventional way. Like, you could throw out all these habeas corpuses and all this mumbo jumbo, but these lawyers And don't be fooled. These lawyers and these judges, they know each other. They go to the same damn golf clubs together.
Yeah, they're friends on the weekend and play golf with one another. Yeah, I mean,
yeah, the lawyers that are representing you and representing me as we battle each other in court, hell, they probably have pool parties on Sundays.
yeah, they text each other at the end of the day. Hey, you want to go grab a beer, drink? No.
Yeah, so like it is what it is. It's a sad situation, even for this Amber. Like the fact that if that somehow she wins this, what does she have? Is she going to get a red cape with a red S on the back of it, like as a trophy? Like, hey, you took down Johnny Depp, good for you. Like what?
Yeah, I don't know.
Why? Like this in any other spectrum of the world would be you wouldn't even hear about it. But the fact that it's these two people, it's got to be on the news.
If this was, Jane Doe and John Doe off the main street in the small village of wherever, you would never hear about this. You could put the same exact facts about it. You would never hear about it. But because they're two big names, everyone cares. Which,
it's also,
whatever.
It works out good for media too, because it's something that they can deflect from the bigger situations and put smaller things.
Yeah, like the quote unquote war that's going on that we haven't heard much about, or gas prices going through the roof. I digress, though.
Yeah, no, you can't. It's one of those situations, Matt, that no matter what you do,
it's a lose-lose, to be honest.
Yeah, you can't do enough, so you didn't cross the finish line.
Like the tortoise and the hare, but the tortoise broke a leg on the way and couldn't cross, and the hare is still napping.
That's the stupidest analogy I ever heard. What's faster than tortoise?
Listen,
clearly a rabbit. A rolling rock is faster than a turtle.
Yeah, but it's the whole metaphor that the hare got burnt out. I mean, it's really, if you think about it, if we really dig deep into this, which we got a little bit of time, so we can for a minute here. You got the tortoise and the hare, right? The hare is fast straight off the get-go. I'm going to beat everyone there before they even cross the start. Tortoise is like, I'm going to take my time, pace myself, right? You look at this like life, right? If we do anything too fast, you're going to get burnt out. And then you're going to need a break. That's what the hare is. They're going right off the start. They're ready to go. They get burnt out halfway through. They got to take a nap. Got to take a break. Now, if you pace yourself, go nice and slow, they're going the same distance. Doing the same thing. Just taking a little bit longer. So the tortoise is like, I'm going to, one step at a time, I'm going to make sure the ground's good in front of me. I'm going to chew on a little leaf as I walk by, and I'm going to get there, and when I get there, that's when I get there. If I'm first, I'm first. If I'm last, I'm last.
Yeah, but there's also logic to that too, right? Like if the hare hauls ass and goes 10 miles further than any of the other slow animals, and he's like, oh shit, I'm tired, I'm going to take a break. He could probably take a good old nap, have himself a hot chocolate, and then get back on the road before they're even close to catching up. So
I mean, yeah, but we're talking, I don't know how long the exact line was in the original analogy, but we're talking like 100 feet. Which, even in that case, if you're getting burnt out after 100 feet, you might want to go see your cardiologist.
Yeah, that rabbit's got lung problems. Hell, even I can run 100 feet.
That's surprising.
Yeah. I run like a deer for a little bit.
I'm more like an antelope. I don't like to run, but when I need to run for my life, I can very fast until I get blindsided by a lion. And then it's all over.
So, since we have a little bit of time, we're talking about analogies. This guy at work brought this up to me the other day, and I never really knew the definition of it. I just winged it, and it sounded so good that I think it could possibly be real.
Oh, I'm intrigued now.
He said to me, Bill, what does this saying, take it with a grain of salt, mean? And I'm like, oh, you really put me on the spot here, buddy.
Here we go.
So I was like, yeah. So I was like, all right, wing it. Just go for it. I said, you ever have a salt shaker? And he said, yep. I said, how many grains of salt are in there? He said, a lot. I said, yeah. I said, so if you lose 1 grain of salt, does it matter to the container of salt?
No.
And he's like, no. I'm like, all right, so I guess that's what it means. Like, if you lose 1 grain of salt out of a salt shaker's worth, then it doesn't matter.
Yeah, essentially what it means is that, if you get a pie thrown in your face, and by the pie I mean something horrible, and by your face I mean life, if you get shit thrown at you in life, it's 1 grain of salt. 1 grain of salt could equal, there's 300 and how many days in a year? 365? Yeah, that sounds about right.
364 and 3/4 if we're being technical.
True. I'm going to go easy here. 365 days in a year, right? If each one of those is a grain of salt, you put those in a pile, you're not going to be able to know 1 grain of salt's missing.
And the only reason I say if we're being technical is because every 4 years is a leap year.
Yeah, well...
An extra day that makes up...
When is the next leap year?
I have lost track of that's in February anyway, isn't it?
Yeah, it's got to be coming up. I feel like it's been 3-4 years already. Regardless, if you take one day in in a year, 1 out of 365, and you just got a shit day, 1 grain of salt. Take it with a grain of salt, throw it away. You'll never know what's missing.
Yeah, I literally winged that when he said it. He's like, "Oh, what does a grain of salt mean?" I'm like, "Oh shit." This guy comes to me for advice a lot. And I usually have the advice. But he came to me with some shit that I have never even thought about. Like, I don't even use that saying, "Oh, I just take it with a grain of salt." No, I never. That's something that just blew my mind when he asked me. So I winged it. And it sounded so good that I went with it.
Yeah, so the next leap year is 2024. February 2024. We got 2 years.
Well, that's not bad.
I can live with that. Okay, anyways, moving on. Little sidetrack there. But hey, analogies. I like analogies. Maybe we'll find another analogy for next week.
Yeah.
We'll think of one. Maybe we'll make our own. Just be complete idiots and make our own.
Oh, I can do that. I have the wherewithal to be a complete idiot and make up my own sayings whenever I want.
I want to talk about something that could be world altering. And we mentioned it a few minutes ago about, this Johnny Depp Amber Heard thing being a deflection from other topics. And I mentioned the war, the quote unquote war that's going on with Ukraine and Russia. And all that. Now, I want to go over there. Now, Finland borders Russia. Now, there was a quote unquote deal that there would be a buffer zone, meaning states like Finland, Ukraine, so on and so forth, would not join the European alliance, NATO, the former Soviet Union, whatever they're calling themselves. It would be a buffer zone, essentially from Russia and China and them to the rest of to Europe and all that, and in the United States. However, introduced today, and as discussed previously by some of their parliamentary leaders, Finland brought the debate to the floor today in their parliament. Now they returned today for their normal session to join NATO. Now, the way Parliament is in Finland is it's similar to like Europe and Great Britain, all that. There's 10 Parliament leaders, from my understanding, and this is just based off a couple sources that I read. There's 10 Parliament leaders. 8 out of 10 of them express either support for joining NATO or aligning militarily wise with NATO. Now, from what I've heard, it's a 200-seat parliament, and about 16 seats of that 200 are the opposing members. So the other 2 leaders, the other 2 parties, and essentially 14 of their co-workers, whatever you want to call them. So the question should be brought up that, well, Ukraine wanted to join NATO, and essentially NATO said, well, we'll talk about it. Finland now possibly wants to join NATO. They're actively talking about it. Russia wasn't happy when Ukraine wanted to join NATO, so what's Russia going to think now that Finland wants to join NATO? It just seems like we're creating a little issue in that sector of the world that's, poking the bear, the hibernating bear.
What's the what is NATO's stance? Like, how do they vote another country? And like, okay, so basically what you're saying is the vast majority of Finland politicians say, hey, we need somebody to cover our ass just in case these guys do actually win in Ukraine and decide to come for us.
Yeah, because if you really think about it, I mean, you got Sweden and Norway up there that are with them, but compared to like Ukraine, right, where you got the rest of Europe, you got France, Germany, Austria, Hungary, Slovakia, Poland, Belarus, Lithuania, you got all these countries around you, right? Obviously, you got Russia literally on one side, and then you got 7 or 8 countries bordering you on the other side. Finland, you literally have Russia and Sweden, and then you're on a giant island. You got Norway up there too, but
here's the problem that Ukraine ran into is they wanted to join the EU. The EU wouldn't let them in or didn't vote on it or whatever the case may be. They're
Correct.
Basically a European country without having the European tag.
Yeah, essentially.
So had the EU voted and said, let's let Ukraine in as something under the Queen's rule. Well, I'll bet you if that had happened, the debate in NATO would have been, oh, you're with the Queen, you're with us. Come on in.
Yeah.
There wouldn't have been a discussion.
Probably.
And the fact that it came out now, we don't know. Did Ukraine try to join NATO before, like way before even Russia even was a threat?
There was a couple years ago, there was a request put in that they wanted to join between that 2014 time when they kind of had the conflict resolution and when the 2022 conflict started. There was a request. It was 3-4 years ago. It was before COVID. I know that. They hadn't put a request in, and that's when NATO said, well, this buffer zone of countries, right, such as Finland and Ukraine and these other countries in that region, Belarus, Lithuania, Latvia, those type of countries. There was going to be that buffer zone between essentially the European Union, NATO, and Russia and Moscow and even China. Even though China isn't siding technically, there was going to be that divide. And that's why NATO kind of said, well, we really don't want to break that, whatnot. We just kind of we'll think about it, and then never got back to them. So there was that a couple years ago, and then obviously when this conflict started, they said, hey, listen, we're going to resubmit this, and you might want to fast track it, and, just slide it under the desk, and we'll do it that way. Clearly hasn't worked yet, but...
Well, here's my problem with that. I'm just going to pose this question to you. What is the one nation on the earth that no country knows what they're doing?
Realistically, I mean, there's kind of two, right? You got North Korea.
Well, you hit the nail on the head right there on the first one.
But you also kind of got Russia too.
Yeah, but Russia's more.
I mean, we have access to Russia. We can go in and out of Russia. We can kind of see what's going on. I mean, North Korea, we don't know shit about.
Right, and that's the point I'm getting to is we don't know shit about the one country on the planet that is so secretive that we don't know what they're doing. Like, we could put a satellite overhead, but they have such a vast underground system of things that they could be building shit down there we don't even know.
Oh, yeah. I mean...
But they sit on the United Nations. They're in the United Nations.
Correct.
So why can't a country that is fighting for their independence, that actually is independent, but fighting for their right to stay independent, why can't we as a coalition, as NATO, say, hey, we got your back. You're trying to remain free as a free people and a democracy. What we're essentially doing to Ukraine is saying, hey, we're going to give you guns and airplanes and tanks and shit,
but we're not going to back you.
Yeah, we're not going to come there and help you because Russia's got nukes.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the reason.
Yep. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it just seems a little weird that, like you said, we'll supply these weapons and munitions to a country that we've denied without actually saying we're denying them, support and an access point to NATO. And then we get to Finland, where, granted, they just brought the talks up today, but you would think that there would be some talk from the United Nations, NATO side of things saying, hey, continue these talks, but just know that you're probably going to get shot down, metaphorically speaking, maybe even physically, depending on how you act. Or, hey, continue these talks, we might actually consider this on the NATO side of things. Who knows?
My brain is lost right now at the fact that, okay, you got Finland, who probably should be a part of NATO in the first place.
Probably, yeah.
Ukraine, that should probably be a part of NATO in the first place. Every country that is free and independent and trying to, support freedom and give their citizens the right to do things and not being dictated on what they need to do. They should be a part of NATO. That should just be like hey, you don't have to apply, you're invited. But to go to this whole Ukraine thing is, you don't think Putin's not looking back going, oh, America, you're going to send all these tanks and airplanes and millions of rounds of ammo and internet capability. Even though you're not going in there with your forces, you're still helping them.
You're making a statement still.
And you got all these other countries, Germany, all these other countries that are supplying stuff to them. So if Putin wanted to say, okay, push that button, send it there, you might as well just flood the country with troops, support these people fighting. Yeah. Pretty much, Ukrainian military is a bunch of freedom fighters. They're not necessarily the best trained soldiers in the world, let's face it.
Not at all.
Somehow they're beating the hell out of one of the superpowers, but that's good for them.
I mean, yeah.
Let's just say, hypothetically speaking, we're sending all this shit. All these countries are sending all this supplies to Ukraine. And Putin says, well, I didn't like that Germany just did that. Push the button, send it there.
Yeah.
And now, here comes a nuke to Germany.
Yeah.
Every country that's civilized, that's part of NATO, is going to send surface-to-air missiles up to try to blow this damn thing up.
Yeah, pretty quickly.
Right, but if Russia says, all right, well, Ukraine, you've been kicking our ass. Push the button, send one there. What's going to happen? Nothing. We're not going to shoot no missiles to defend it. Ukraine's just going to get blown apart.
Pretty much, yeah.
I don't understand the philosophy that the global government uses to decide things, because to me, unless Ukraine can definitively win this, and if they do definitively win this, they should not only be allowed into NATO, they should be running NATO.
Well, they clearly figured something out if they do win it. Right? Like, there's been... Russia's, like you said, Russia's a world superpower. And to just essentially get up and say, with your normal, everyday populations, right? It's not like this is completely just strictly a military operation by Ukraine to defend themselves. This is like everyday people.
Yeah, you're not fighting the Ukrainian military.
No, you're fighting Ukraine. Yeah.
You're fighting them, all of them.
Yeah. Like, that's just...
Could you imagine if that happened here in the United States? If
oh,
we got
God.
Yeah, our military is going to do some damage, but...
Yeah, well, and there's a famous saying, and I don't know exactly who said it, but I hear it all the time. And I want to say it's someone like Japanese said it during that whole Pearl Harbor time frame, or shortly after. It was like, I don't want to invade the United States because behind every blade of grass is a gun-toting American. Not the military, an everyday citizen. I mean, like you said, the military is going to do some damage between surface-to-air missiles, just normal firepower, tanks, so on and so forth. Planes, jets, helicopters, surveillance in general. Hell, we knew what was coming in Ukraine 3 weeks before everyone else wanted to know what was coming in Ukraine.
Yeah, we have satellites. We were posting that shit on the internet, on the
Yeah.
news.
We were literally saying a month ahead of time, hey, listen, just so you're all aware, this is about to happen in probably about a month. You might want to start preparing or not. I mean, it really doesn't matter to us, but
yeah, we're giving you the heads up. If you do something with it, go for it. If you don't, well, good luck.
Yeah, like you,
like,
I don't know.
You know, you say about like the American military is going to clearly, if somebody invades us, even if they somehow manage to get to shore without getting their asses handed to them by land, sea, and air, if they make it to shore and start working their way through, they got to deal with every red-blooded American that's going to be like, nope, this ain't happening.
Yeah.
And people will start popping out of sheds and,
oh yeah,
you know, and I'm going to be right there too. Like, I got guns.
Yeah.
Somebody comes threatening my house, I don't give a shit if you're an American. You come threatening my house, you're not dealing with the cops because they ain't going to be here in time. You're dealing with me.
Yep.
And then the cops are going to come and deal with what's left over. And that's much like the mentality in Ukraine is, you got these people living in these like hobo villages. Like, I'm not saying that to be disrespectful because I can't pronounce half the damn names of these places. So you got people in these small little cities that what they do is raise goats or grow wheat or whatever it is that they do up there. Now all of a sudden they got a superpower at their door trying to kick their ass.
Yeah.
And they're throwing Molotov cocktails and rocks and
making these homemade anti-tank, traps. They're doing all kinds of stuff.
And winning. Let's go with that, and winning.
Yeah. I mean, we've said this before when we covered it in one of the first episodes. I give them a solid A+ for what they've done. Like, maybe even an A++.
Well, nobody, and me included, I figured what was going to happen is Russia's going to cross the border, steamroll their way all the way to Kyiv, and just...
Yeah, my thoughts were within the week, Ukraine would be gone.
The fact that, okay, like, Ukraine, they did some pretty crazy shit. Like, they blew up their own bridges so that Russia couldn't cross the rivers and stuff.
But that's kind of what you do, though.
Yeah.
If it's your only way to stop them, that's kind of what you have to do.
But, like, Ukraine don't have missiles where they could be like, all right, there's a boat here, so let's shoot a bunch of cruise missiles off of this boat over to here. I watched a video that I could not believe that I watched. Like, well, I believe I watched it, but I couldn't believe what happened in the video. And that was a bunch of Ukrainian people just firing guns and weird shit at a ship.
Yeah.
And they sunk the ship.
Yep.
They sunk a warship with, like, no conventional weapons.
Yep. Yeah. And not
I
like...
can't look at Russia and say, oh, you're a superpower. And you can't even beat country that doesn't have an established military. How can you be a superpower?
They didn't even just sink it. They lit it on fire and sent, I think it was like 500 Russian, obviously troops, soldiers, whatever, command staff, like jumping into the water to survive. Like, it was impressive.
Well, and you watch the videos of these Russian soldiers that didn't even know what they were there for.
Oh no, and I've seen numerous videos of quote unquote captured Russian soldiers that are like, I'm 20. I'll be 21 in August. They're younger than me. They're like 17, 18. Sitting there like, oh, I don't know. We were told that we were going to, whatever part of Russia for military training, and then the next day we're in the middle of Ukraine fighting.
Yeah, because they said some off the wall stuff like, Ukrainians are neo-Nazis and they're plotting to come after Russia.
Yeah.
Anybody with a brain between their ears knows that on their best day, Ukraine couldn't invade Russia.
I mean, at this point, they might be able to.
Maybe, but you like you just said, these are kids. These are just fresh into the military kids. So
yeah,
if Putin wanted to send his experienced, I don't even want to say experience, because what was the last war Russia was involved in?
I don't even know at this point.
I can tell you exactly what it was. It was the war that they had with Afghanistan.
Yeah.
That America supplied Afghanistan with the weapons to fight them off, and Afghanistan won.
Yeah.
So there's a pretty good track record of us giving weapons to people without being on the ground and helping them win.
Well, I mean, we do have some of the most. If you look at, I don't know if they have any in Pennsylvania, but Lockheed Martin. We have so many military contract agencies, right? Like Lockheed Martin's obviously the biggest one that I can think of off the top of my head. That get millions and millions, I mean billions of dollars too, to just develop technology that the government doesn't have to develop themselves. They just take delivery of it. Signed, sealed, delivered. It's all yours. Have fun. Here's the latest and greatest, spy plane that can't be detected up to 70,000 feet in the air, right? Like, it's just, we have all these defense contractors and we have this, what seems like an unlimited budget that we can just spend and develop all this latest stuff to just give other countries and other, like you said, Afghanistan, now Ukraine. Hell, we could be giving stuff to South Africa next week if we really wanted to. Like, not that I think we need to, because South Africa is literally surrounded on three sides by water, but possibility.
Well, it blows my mind that we're in a situation that we're in this world where we're helping, but we're not helping.
Like, yeah, we're you know what it is? We're like, we're sitting back, right? We're at like a baseball game, and there's this fan in front of us. It's really angry about the way the fan's going, and they're yelling and screaming at the umps or whatever. I mean, we're kind of angry, but we're not really angry. So we're telling this fan in front of us, hey, if you yell this at the ump, they'll get even more angrier, right? And then the fan yells it. So we're not directly yelling at the ump, but we're kind of saying, hey, I want this to be said, so you should tell them.
It's called guilty by association.
Pretty much.
There's no way that Putin doesn't know that all these countries are sending weapons and airplanes and drones and all kinds of stuff to help them win. So, of course, the Russian people don't know this, because right now Russia is no better than North Korea in the fact that they're censoring their people. The problem with Russia is Russia was open to, I don't know if it still is, deliveries from SpaceX for the whatever their internet is, Starlink.
Yeah.
So these people that have Starlink can't do nothing. Like the Russian people or Russian government can't do nothing to these internet hubs that are launched. So these people are still getting information, but it's very far few in between because that shit's expensive.
Yeah. Well, and if you look at Russia specifically, like the International Space Station, I think there's 2 Roscosmos, maybe 3 up there currently. 2 more were just up there, and there was actually an American that came back with them, right? Like, we got sanctions on Russia. Now, I know they got their own section to the space station, but essentially it's our space station, right? Japanese have a section, the Russians got a section, but it's our space station. Like the literally all the facilities that make that space station run are in the American section. So we could essentially cut them off if we want. But Russia knows if they play nice with us there, that they're going to be able to do this more, continue their scientific research and their, whatever they're doing up there, and be able to semi stay on America's good side for a few extra months.
But they're kind of not, in a sense, because, yeah, you're right. They know if they play fair and they play nice, then the Americans will be like, oh, well, millions and billions of dollars. Yay, here we go. But Russia, whoever the guy in charge of their space program said, no more Russian rockets or no more Russian engines to America. Yeah. So Elon said, okay, well, we'll just make our own then. Screw you.
Yeah, screw you. We don't need you.
But then there's also the ongoing talk that Russia is going to merge with China on this Chinese space station that was launched a couple months ago, to build that up. Yeah. Because those two are, asshole buddies. One does what one does, the other agree with.
The problem with that, though, is our space station, I think it's up until 2026, it's good.
2024. Well, 2024, and it's supposed to deorbit in 2025. But NASA said not too long ago, actually, that the space station, once the federal lease on the space station expires, it'll be open to be purchased by an independent company.
SpaceX!
Or the independent company could then decide to launch their own space station. So if Elon doesn't buy the currently established and working space station and wants to build his own, he could absolutely do that. But why fix what's not broken? The space station's old. I can remember watching the shuttle launch with the very first piece of it.
Oh, yeah.
So it's not that old that it can't be. If there's any worry that in the next 2 years something's going to go wrong, they wouldn't be launching people up there now.
Oh no, not at all. They would be redoing a lot of their concerns if that was an issue. If they thought something was going to go wrong. Now they've had, I think it was last year, we had that space station issue where they thought there was an oxygen leak itself, where they were concerned that oxygen might not be fully sustainable within the station, and they secured into one section. They quickly found out, hey, no, we're good. It's, everything's good. A minor situation, nothing, blah, 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 so on and so forth. So there have been, minor concerns with it, but nothing, honestly, for being up there that long, no real concerns.
Yeah, I wouldn't. If I was Elon, NASA, if I was the federal government, what I would do is say, all right, obviously China's blacklisted. They're never going to be allowed on our space station.
Oh, no, never.
Which is kind of stupid, but I understand why, because they're super sneaky about the way they do things. But if I was our federal government, I would extend the lease until 2030 and say, we're going to fund you till 2030. In the meantime, all you independent companies
want to get up here, you can start paying.
Yeah, you can either start paying to take over then and start shipping your own shit up there.
Oh, look at that. Look at that SpaceX launch that just happened a couple days. Actually, it was a little bit longer, last week sometime, that sent one retired astronaut and 3 civilian, essentially millionaires, not billionaires, up there. Now they are doing research. They're only going to be up there for 2 weeks. They should be coming back soon, actually. But it's the first civilian flight to go up there on a SpaceX rocket launched from a NASA facility to the International Space Station, which is federally funded. You don't hear about that much, where there's cooperation between the civilian side of things and the federal side of things.
No, and if you just take 5 minutes of your day and look up, private space station proposals. Some of them are really off the wall, like
Oh,
these
yeah.
inflatable things that go up and inflate.
Well, that's what Elon Musk, God love him, but I think he is a little ambitious here. He wants to colonize Mars. He wants to do these essentially not inflatable, but pop-up tents that are able to be pressurized and these tunnel systems between them and whatnot. That was his plan as of a couple years ago, right? And
they already said, though, that the surface of Mars, just the air and the wind and the sandstorms and all that, is not humans couldn't survive. So even if they said, all right, we're going to send these big, huge, inflatable, bouncy tents up there, we don't know what's flying through the atmosphere up there when these sandstorms kick up. So there could be boulders. What if a boulder hits that and you got 100 people inside there? Oh, dead.
Yeah.
So, they have to come up with a better idea.
Well, it's definitely going to take a lot. I mean, look at the moon, right? We've been there a long time ago. Supposedly, there's still a flag standing there. I don't know about that. We'll see. But, people talked about, well, why don't we just go to the moon build some sort of structure there and live there? Now, it's probably definitely more sustainable than Mars with sandstorms and all that. And granted, we've had Mars rovers for quite some time on Mars, so it's definitely reachable. Actually, I don't even know how long ago, but I think it was last year, the year before, where they just put a new one up there. It's going around. I don't even know.
Yeah, the Perseverance was early 2021.
So last year, about a year now. So they've got a lot of information on Mars. I'm sure they could find something, but SpaceX has Starship that they've been developing now. It hasn't been obviously launched. It's been launched, but it hasn't been fully launched, the entire thing. They're still working on a ton of stuff that they want to use for civilian round trip travel to the moon, Mars, and wherever else they can go with it. Essentially, I think it's got like 100-person capacity or something like that. Ridiculous. It's like 400 feet tall. It's insane. But they want to, I think, don't quote me. I mean, you can quote me on this, but my thoughts are that within the next 10 years, so 2022 to 2032, obviously the ISS lease is going to be up no matter what at that point. It's due I think it's like you said, 2024 or 2026, somewhere in that range. It's due up for then. If they release, sell the International Space Station, whatever they do, to 2030, somewhere in that range. By 2032, we're not going to have a space station unless we develop something new where it's a civilian-run SpaceX station, somewhere around there. I think we're going to honestly see NASA fade away. Not completely gone. I think they're still going to have a role, but they're not going to be doing as much as they are now with the space station and all this other thing. And I think we're going to see things like Blue Origin, not as much Blue Origin, but things like SpaceX really become the face of space travel in not just the United States, but the world. I mean, the things that they've done in just a few years compared to NASA in the last 40, I mean, come on.
Well, everybody's playing catch up to them.
Pretty much.
So this isn't breaking news, but it is kind of important in this conversation of the whole space travel thing and the whole Starship. So it came out like a day or two ago that the Army Corps of Engineers has denied SpaceX's request to launch a Starship from the Boca Chica launch site. So essentially what that means is they've spent all this money and all this time building this Mechazilla structure to catch it on its return. And they ain't allowed to launch there. And the people of Boca Chica that are against SpaceX, they're throwing a party. They're celebrating. Hey, we won, But obviously it's an appeal thing. They're going to try to get it. But in the meantime, Elon was smart enough and had the foresight enough to know, hey, this could be a possibility. Let's go down to the launch pad that we own now.
Yeah.
And build one there.
Yep. Yeah, so I'm just reading here. So next year, 2023, Now it doesn't give a time what time of the year. There's a Japanese entrepreneur. I am not going to read his name just because, quite frankly, I would butcher the entire thing.
Yoshihiro Atari.
No. Close though. The last name starts with an M. Regardless, they're going to become the first people on Starship, supposedly. Now, we'll see when we get there, to do a fly by the moon on a week-long journey. Now, we'll see. I mean, I wish I'd become a millionaire at some point to, be able to fly on one of these things.
Hell
That would
yeah,
be nice.
I'm scared to death of heights, but you throw me, I have a chance
Listen.
to be the guy to fly around the moon, send my ass, I'm going to go.
Listen.
I'm not looking down, but I'm going to go.
I'm one of those people that will say, oh yeah, I would love to get on that roller coaster while looking at it from the parking lot, get up to it, look at it in the actual park itself and say, nope. By the time I get in line and strapped into the roller coaster, I'm ready to go and I'm like, it's game on. I would be that with this. But instead of, I would say, look at that and go, you really wanted me to strap myself to inside that thing and fly above the world where I know I can put 2 feet on the ground and, not fall because gravity's a thing? Okay. I would jump on the opportunity to get on one of these things. Jump on
Hell
it.
yeah, because even, God forbid, something goes terribly wrong,
It's one hell of a fucking way to go out.
you're going to be in the history books. Like, your name will be talked about forever. Like, hey, the very first launch didn't go so well and this crew died. 2 things would have to happen in order for me to get on there. 1, I would need a non-window seat. So they'd have to find a space in that big-ass rocket.
Oh,
there ain't a window.
There's no windows, so you're good with that. Starship
2,
doesn't have windows.
Yet.
True. Yeah,
But
they'll
in
add
the
some.
event that it actually is like launched with Windows, so you can look back, like what's his face? Did they do with that?
Oh,
thing where
Blue
they send 'em
Origin.
up for- yeah, they send them up for a couple minutes.
Well, that's just because Jeff Bezos doesn't have enough money in the world already.
Yeah. So the second thing that would have to happen is there would need to be a cooler full of beer strapped directly next to my ass.
Good luck with that.
And I mean, full. Like if I'm going to be sitting on the launch pad for 4 hours, by the time we lift off, I'm going to be asleep.
Yeah.
I won't even know that I'm going up until I wake up and go, hey, why are my feet floating above my head? Oh, you're in space. Oh, this is wonderful. I got to piss. Now, can we go back home? That'd be great.
Yeah. I mean, we can dig into this in the future in another episode about just space in general, but I mean, cycling back a little to what we had started off with, this whole Finland and NATO thing and Russia and Ukraine.
Boy, we really did go off.
We really did. But hey, it's good. It's good to have these talks. It comes down to, is Russia playing nice? At least with us? Maybe a little.
I think they're not stupid enough to provoke us.
No, I don't think they are.
Because if they provoke us, they're provoking every other NATO country. So
there's 2 things, just to quickly wrap this up. There's 2 things here. If Ukraine and Finland both join NATO, right? More so Ukraine, because they're already been provoked. Russia's already poked that bear, right? NATO's going to immediately send help. Now we kind of have indirectly, but they're gonna be more likely to actually put boots on the ground. However, if Finland joins, Russia hasn't poked that bear yet. That bear's still hibernating. That bear's still protecting their cubs. They haven't poked it. If Finland joins, I don't think Russia's going to poke that bear ever. And then honestly, essentially that provides cover for Sweden and Norway too.
I would have to agree with you, but I'd have to also disagree. I would think that if Finland borders Russia and Finland joins NATO,
I think it's just stupid for anyone to border Russia to join NATO.
Well, I think Putin's going to look at that and say, "Oh, really, you son of a bitch."
Well, he's going to look at that as, instead of him poking the bear, we're poking the bear right at him.
Well, it could also be like Finland might say, hey, we should probably join NATO because, like I said earlier, if this is happening there and the world ain't coming to their aid? What if they decide that Finland needs to be part of Russia and they come in here?
Yeah.
You know, it's not. It's a political thing, but it's also this should just be common sense. Why is there so much debate and so much argument and we all take it into consideration? No, these damn countries are peace-loving, free people.
Yeah.
Let them in. Just you don't got to vote on it. All
Yeah.
these countries that are in there weren't voted on. When NATO was started, NATO was a coalition of countries that came together and formed NATO.
Yep.
So these countries that are in NATO, well, some of them, the vast majority of them were there when it was started, and then these like odds and ends were voted in. But now all of a sudden it's so political that we're like, hey, this is a really dangerous part of the world up there. And these countries are trying to get in here so that we could protect them because they know they can't protect themselves. But we're going to drag them through hoops and make them jump through, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I mean, Finland, just looking at it quickly, broadly here, before we get too far deep, because we are pretty close on time at this point. Finland, like you said, it borders Russia. There's currently one military base in Finland. It's Finland Air Force Base. Obviously, or station, I should say. It's part of the Air Defense Command. There's issues, right? Whatever. There's a lot of things that, if Finland joins NATO, how many NATO forces are going to be there? It doesn't seem like a lot, but it's a key point, right? It's right against Russia. It's a great place to launch surveillance from. You would think that in a matter of seconds, that place would be swarmed with not only U.S. military infrastructure, but just insane infrastructure from everyone. New bases, checkpoints on the border, surveillance operations. And I could see Russia taking that as we're provoking the bear. It gives us the opportunity to fly any type of aircraft we want at 50,000 feet. However, I don't know what type of aircraft we have now. And quite frankly, there's aircraft we don't even know about as the general public. But we can put this, advanced equipment in the air in seconds, and then all of a sudden now we're just flying over Russia 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They don't know we're there. We know they're there, but they don't. We're just gathering all this intel constantly, 24/7. Granted, it would help us a lot, but in the end of the day, it might provoke the bear a little. I don't know. I guess time will tell. Like I said, it's the first day that Finland has discussed about it. Now, a lot of people tend to say, "Hey, maybe we should join or express support." But I don't know. We'll see when that time comes. There's still a lot of talks that need to happen at this point, and a lot of issues to be worked out throughout there.
I just say there's really no issue to work out. Just leave them in.
Yeah, I mean,
they're not a huge military, but if something goes down, if they're willing to join NATO, that to me means they're willing to say, we're going to come help you.
Pretty much.
Help us now. Please help us now, because we'll help you then.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know Finland's military size, but honestly, it's probably like the size of one airborne unit for the U.S.
Yeah, it can't be huge.
I do a quick Google search here.
It's not even a matter of the size of their military. It's the principle of the country. Like if, obviously we're not going to let North Korea into NATO. but a country that doesn't go out and show signs of provocation to the rest of the world or threaten other people. Hell, Russia's in NATO. Why haven't they been kicked out? Oh, I know we're discussing them.
Yeah, well.
Where'd that go?
So the Finnish military is, as of 2021, they got 21,500 active personnel, 900,000 reserve personnel.
So that's like New York.
Not it. No, that's like New York, excluding the city, every major, that's excluding New York City, Buffalo, Rochester, Syracuse. That's just rural New York.
Basically, what I'm saying is that's like the New York National Guard is
essentially
that military.
Oh, yeah.
Like, so they're not big enough. They couldn't fight. They couldn't defend themselves against a major. Well, I guess that doesn't matter because the same thing could be said about Ukraine. Nobody would have thought that was going to be a thing, but it's a thing. So maybe they could, but anybody that's bordering Russia should want to be like, hey, we're going to need some fucking help here soon.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Well, I think we covered a lot today. We did do some rabbit hole, specifically at the end. But it's good to have these talks, and some of them are difficult to have. We've talked about some difficult topics, talked about some controversial topics, including today's, specifically with Finland, also with the mask mandate stuff. But it's good to have these talks and work things out. And, you've probably noticed by now, me and Bill don't necessarily always agree on everything. There's definitely things that we butt heads about, but it's not in a bad way. It's things we do, we talk things out man to man, and we say, hey, maybe this is what is good, but maybe you got some good points too that, hey, this might also be good, or we have some horrible ideas, both of us. It's good to have these talks and work things out. But I think we did a lot of, covered a lot of great things, discussed a lot of great topics and issues today. And, it was a good episode just to get that out and whatnot.
100% dialogue kills dissension.
Exactly, So, like always, you can email us at twodudeswithaview@gmail.com and let us know your thoughts. Let us know what you think and what topics you want to see in the future, what you thought of today's topics, maybe your own opinions, and just let us know. We're always happy to hear from you. We're always checking our email, and it's a good form of communication between you guys and us to let us know your thoughts and your suggestions and your ideas. You can also, if you're listening to this on YouTube, you can drop a comment below and we'll chat it up with you there. Or you can also join our Discord. Bill, I'm going to have you plug this like you do every week because I know you love it. You can join our Discord and get a hold of us there.
Oh, I'm great at this. This is my favorite part because I don't have no idea what the URL is. But I'm just going to say, like I say every week, join the Discord, leave a comment in there about what we should cover topic-wise or not, what you like, what you don't like. Hey, I'm just throwing this out there. We're two dudes with a view. If you want us to take 10 minutes each out of the podcast to give our view on any topic, we could do that. If you're a business and want advertisement, we have a sponsorship program from cheap to not so cheap, so go check it out. Matt will put a link to the Discord in the description for this podcast, whether it be on whatever podcast platform you're listening to or on YouTube down the road. It'll be there. Matt, back to you.
Yeah, like Bill said, I'll put all that information right below, either in the YouTube or on any platform. If you click on the episode, you'll be able to see all that information, including a synopsis of the show. So for future episodes, if you want to just do a quick synopsis of it before you actually get into it, you can read that there. But with that being said, it's been a great episode. It's been a little bit longer than a normal one. We're actually pretty close to 2 hours here, which is insane.
I got an hour and 48 minutes, but we're catching up for the times we lost. We've consistently lost 5 minutes each episode, so we're making up for lost time.
Yeah, pretty much. So with that being said, it's been a great episode, and I'm excited to see what next week brings. So until then, we will catch you there, and hope you guys enjoyed. Other than that, have a great one, everyone.
Later.
See ya.